Good day to everyone. So for this day, we're going to discuss about the Baroque art, which is the continuation of our topic about the Renaissance art. So first, ano-ano nga ba yung mga magiging pwede nating i-topic for this day or mga magiging new knowledge nyo po. So isa-isayin po natin. So first, let's talk about what is Baroque art. Saan nga ba nagsimula yung word na Baroque? So, word Baroque is believed to derive o nagsimula daw from the Portuguese word na Barroco. Ibig sabihin daw po is irregularly shapen pearl. So, ano pa? There was a continuation of classicism and naturalism of the Renaissance. Ibig sabihin po, ito yung kasunod o kung ano man yung mga nagawa ng Renaissance art, pinagpatuloy nila yung iba't ibang uri ng mga elements na meron po sa art ng Renaissance. At the same time, a more colorful, ornate, painterly, and dynamic style was developed. Ibig sabihin po, from the Renaissance period, nagkaroon po sila tinatawag na innovation when it comes to the different forms of art in the Baroque period. Then we also have motion and space were concerns for artists and architect. And lastly, additional concerns were with the concept of time and dramatic use of light and theatricality. So now let's talk about the introduction. So first, discuss the correlation between motion theories in science at this time and Baroque art. Ibig sabihin po, in this period, nagkakaroon na po ng iba't ibang uri ng theories when it comes to science, wherein ginagamit na po yun in terms of their everyday lives together in terms of creating different forms of artwork. Discuss the post-Renaissance styles that do not have much in common. Mapapansin po kasi natin na in terms of artwork, nagkakaroon ng comparison mean ang Renaissance period together po ng Baroque period. The Baroque period was irregularly in its stylistic tendencies, but it gave us many treasured artwork. So nabanggit po dyan na during this Baroque period, marami pong mga iba't ibang uri ng kayamanan when it comes to artwork, yung mga na-preserve pa up to till now na nagiging isang landmark na ngayon. So how about the Age of Baroque? Kailan nga ba nagsimula? Gaano siya katagal na impose in terms of their lifestyle? So this period roughly spans from 1600 up to 1750. This is an age of genius in many fields of endeavor. Di ba nabanggit kanina na nagkakaroon ng iba't ibang uri ng mga theories when it comes to the science. So, meron din mga treasured or mga piniling treasured when it comes to the artwork. So, the Baroque period in Europe includes a number of post-Renaissance styles that do not have much in common. So sa madaling salita po, nagkakaroon lang ng ambag or idea when it comes to the new forms of artwork when it comes to the Baroque period from the Renaissance style or what we call post-Renaissance style. It describes a fairly complex idiom and focuses on painting, sculpture, as well as architecture. So, ibig sabihin po, hindi lang po siya nakafocus na sa isang artwork like ng painting. Meron din po diyang nakapokus po siya sa tawag nating sculpture and together ng architecture. Then, later on, makikita po natin yung ibang uri ng mga sculptures, painting, and architecture po na gawa po ng iba't ibang uri ng mga famous artists during this period. Also, it reflects the tensions of the age, notably the desire of Catholic Church in Rome to reassert itself in the wake of the Protestant Reformation, which is also almost the same with the Catholic-Reformation art of the period. It was a period of artistic style in exaggerated motion, drama, tension, and grandeur. The style started in Rome, Italy, and spread to most of Europe. So, madaling salita po, naka-focus ang center ng ah, artwork ng iba't ibang uri ng mga famous artists around the continent of Europe. Then, this period din po nagkaroon po tinatawag natin na reassert or yung pagbubukas po sa kamalayan when it comes to the Protestant Reformation. Kasi po, during this period, naniniwala po kasi na magliligtas ka lang by means of God. So, ganun. Para tinuligsa nila yung nito, aral na meron sa Biblia po when it comes to the Catholic churches. So, malalaman nyo naman po when it comes to your history in AP. So, the Roman Catholic Church highly encouraged the Baroque style to propagate Christianity, while the aristocracy used Baroque style for architecture and arts to impress visitors, express triumph, power, and control. Ibig sabihin po, by means of different forms of architecture such as, artwork rather, such as the architecture, ginamit po ng ating mga artist to para po may pakita or para magpa-impress sa mga magiging bisita and to express a triumph or power and control when it comes to their country. And mostly po, makikita pong architecture to, mga architecture na yan sa mga Christian churches. So, aside from the architecture, we also have the Baroque sculpture. So, para saan naman po or ano naman po yung naging ambag ng Baroque sculpture in this period. So, mostly po or typically larger than life size. Ibig sabihin po, kung halimbawa, kisar sa bar yung gagawing tattoo sculpture, hindi po yung pinaka-life size po yung gagawin po sa kanya. Kumbaga, magiging much bigger. Para mas magiging malapad. Joke lang. Yan. So, ganun po yung uri po ng kanilang Baroque sculpture. Is marked by a similar sense of dynamic movement along with an active use of space. Then, lastly, meron din tatawag na Baroque architecture na kung saan po yung design po nila nagkakaroon or nagbibigay ng panibagong spectacle and illusions. So, thus the straight lines of the Renaissance were replaced with the flowing curves. So, ikukumpara po kasi natin sa Renaissance architecture po, it's more on mga lines, di ba? Pero, like sa mga columns, sa mga ceiling. So, unlike po dito sa Baroque architecture, mostly po sa mga gawa po nilang mga pillars or mga columns is more on curved lines po. So now let's talk about the famous Baroque artworks and artists. First, we have Michelangelo Merisi or Ameregi da Caravaggio, 1571 up to 1610. So, mas kilala po siya sa tawag na Caravaggio. Isa siyang Italian artist who wanted to deviate from the classical masters of Renaissance. Yun nga lang, he was an outcast in his society. Sinabing outcast, para nito, hindi siya belong dun sa kanilang uri ng society kung meron sila during that time. Sa panong paraan po or sa anong dahilan because of his own actions and lack of modesty and reverence for religious subjects in his own painting. So, kaya po siya naging outcast po sa kanilang society. It's because kulang siya sa tawag natin modesty and reverence for the reasons when it comes to his subject when it comes to paintings. So, he started out as a specialist in his paintings of life, especially of fruits. So, papansin po natin, mostly po sa mga gawa po niyang mga paintings, mostly kanyang mga subject is fruits. So, his models at this period were either himself or young person who have an air of being promising but weak. So, yan. Tignan po natin ngayon yung mga iba't ibang uri po ng kanyang mga artwork. So, meron po tayo dyan tinatawag na Supper at Emmaus, Conversion of Saint Paul, dito sa ating next picture. And we have also Entombment of Christ and Entombment of Christ. Again, sa magkabila. So, mapapansin nyo naman. So, next we have Gian Lorenzo Bernini, 1598 up to 1680. Siya naman ay isa ring Italian artist and the first Baroque artist. So, tandaan po natin na pag sinabi natin Bernini, he is the first Baroque artist. He practiced architecture, sculpture, painting, stage design, and was also a playwright. So, sa lahat po ng mga naging artist po ng Baroque period, siya lang po yung may pinaka-broad or malawak when it comes to the artistry. Because of what? Dahil isa rin siyang playwriter and nakafocus din siya minsan sa pagkakaroon po ng mga stage decoration. So he was also the last in the list of dazzling universal genius. So, di ba, kanina, kung nabanggit kanina na siya yung pinakauna na Baroque artist, then, isa naman po sa pinakahuli na naging isa sa mga huli sa listahan po ng dazzling universal geniuses. So, and last, as a prodigy, his first artwork date from his 8th birthday. So, nakakatuwa kasi kung sa music, meron din tinatawag mga prodigy. Dito naman sa art, meron naman tinatawag na prodigy din when it comes to the artwork. So, si Bernini po ay nagkaroon ng first artworks na kung saan ay nilabas or nilathala siya nung siya ay mag-birthday at the age of 8 years old. So, ang galing, no? So, ito na po yung mga naging artwork po niya. Meron tayong The Goat Amalthea with the infant Jupiter and a fawn. Next, Damn Soul. Meron din tayong Blessed Soul and David. Meron din tayong Ecstasy of Saint Teresa, Colonnade of the Piazza of St. Peter's, Rome. And by the way po, paki-remember po lahat ng mga picture na pinakita ko po dito sa aking PowerPoint or sa aking pre-recorded lesson kasi gagamitin niyo po siya sa magiging activity niyo po or sa sasagutan niyo pong activity na meron po kayo sa inyong module. Then we have Peter Paul Rubens, 1577 up to 1640. He was a Flemish Baroque painter. He was also known for his paintings of mythical and figurative subjects, landscapes, portraits, and counter-reformation altarpieces. Yan. So mapapansin po natin sa mga binanggit po ng mga artists or famous artists po during this period, si Rubens po is yung nag-iisang Flemish Baroque painter and also nalilinya po siya sa pagpipaint po ng mga ibang uri mga mythical. Like for example, the angels. Basta may kinalaman po sa mga religion. Together sa, kahit hindi naman sa religion, basta isang uri siya ng mga mythical. Kasi sabi ng ating mythical, not as normal as the ordinary people. Then his commission works were mostly religious subjects, history, paintings of the magical creatures, and hunt scenes. So, alam naman natin yung kwento ni Samson and Delilah. So, yan po yung isa po sa mga ginawa po niyang painting. Then, next we have the landscape with the tower. Portrait of Helen Farment. And the Three Graces. So, we also have Rembrandt Harmenszoon van Rijn. He was a brilliant Dutch realist, painter, and etcher. Galing. He is generally considered as one of the greatest painters and printmakers in European art. He followed no particular faith, but was interested in spiritual values and often chooses religious subjects. Yan. So, ibig sabihin po, wala po siyang pinaniniwala ang mga religion. So, pero mostly ang kanyang mga nagiging masterpiece is more about the religious art. religious subjects. No artist has painted himself as often as did Rembrandt. Ibig sabihin po, hindi naman kasi lahat ng mga artist ipinipinta yung sarili niya. 'Di ba? Pero unlike po sa kanya nito, pininta po niya yung sarili po niyang pagkatao. Okay. So, kumbaga, sa canvas niya, siya mismo yung kanyang subject. His concept of himself continued to deepen in grasp and subtlety, while his technique grew more daring. So, ito po yung mga naging sample po or famous na naging artwork po niya. Siyempre, yung kanyang sarili mismo, which is entitled sa Portrait in Old Age. Then, The Virgin, Young Girl at the Window. So, next we have Diego Velasquez, 1599 up to 1660. He was a Spanish Baroque artist. He was one of the finest masters of composition and one of the most important painters of Spanish Golden Age. He worked out solutions to pictorial problems of design that transcend the style of any period. And last, the fashion of still life frequently emerged in Velasquez art. So kapag narinig po natin yung pangalang Velasquez in terms of Baroque period, kailangan po natin siyang tandaan as a Spanish Baroque artist. And isa rin siya sa mga finest masters of composition and the most important painters ng Spanish Golden Age. O yun po yung mga keyword na kailangan po nating tandaan. So ano na nga ba yung mga naging artwork po niya? Ito yung Los Barachos or The Drinker, The Las Meninas, The Maids of Honor. So, doon po nagtatapos yung ating discussion. Pero magbibigay pa ako ng ibang mga PowerPoint and isasend ko na lang po sa ating Edmodo para po magkaroon po kayo ng any idea when it comes to the famous artists together with their artwork. So, God bless and goodbye.